I could not get into Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. I'm like a newer JRPG fan. I grew up playing Pokemon, so I have technically been playing JRPGs for my whole life. Outside of Pokemon, I didn't really play any JRPGs, but over the course of pretty much the last year, I've started to play, a few different ones. I played Dragon Quest XI. I played some Ni no Kuni, and I've played. Fire Emblem is like borderline JRPG. It's also like pretty strategy game. I would consider it a JRPG though. I've really enjoyed the genre, to be honest. And I've just kind of been going through like games that I missed, throughout the years because I just didn't play the genre very much. So I decided to try out Xenoblade because I knew it was supposed to be like Nintendo's like JRPG franchise. And I just wasn't able to get into Xenoblade. Like it was not a terrible game, but it just never fully grabbed my attention the way I wanted it to. And again, I'm not trying to say the game's bad. I know a lot of people love it. I know there are good aspects of the game, and I was noticing good aspects of the game while playing through it. It just never clicked with me. And maybe it has something to do with me being a newer fan and it being an older game. So, like, I have no nostalgia from playing it, like, back on the Wii or anything, because I didn't play it. So I decided I wanted to make a video about it just because I'm trying to post daily right now and try to keep that going as much as I can. And I want to like start a review series, but since I actually did not finish Xenoblade. I didn't find it fair for me to make a review about it, but I thought I could still make a video about it and just like explain like what I thought about the game, what I liked and what I didn't like. So I would say the biggest problem with the game for me, and I think the reason why I wasn't able to get into it, it pretty much was down to the combat. Now, I know a lot of people like the combat in Xenoblade 1 rather than Xenoblade 2. It seemed like they had fairly different combat systems. Xenoblade 1 is more of like an MMO style. I don't like MMOs. So I did not know that going into Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition that it had an MMO style of combat. If I had known that, I probably would have known that I maybe would not have liked the game. I just found the combat to be a bit bland. There were certain ways to like set up moves, and it was like fine to like learn it, but it became a bit repetitive to me after a while. And I think that I maybe could have dealt with the combat being how it was if other aspects of the game would have been better. But there was just like a few things working against the game that made me kind of not like it, like not be like fully immersed in the game. I would say it was probably the thing I liked least about the game, but I could have maybe looked past it if all other elements that I'll talk about later had been like top notch. So one thing that is both a good thing and a bad thing about Xenoblade was like the landscape and environments. So on one hand, they were all like really cool. Like a lot of the settings were really neat, whether it be like the different colonies you went to or the different like cities. But like they were so big. And it wasn't like a case of, wow, look at how cool these areas are. There's so much to explore and so much to do. These areas are so big. Like, wow, this is such a good thing. It was more of like, wow, the scope of these are cool, but like what is in these areas is not all that interesting, in my opinion. So, like, pretty much like 90% of an area would be, random like monsters to fight, which is fine. But there's no like interesting collectibles, and the quests were not the best, which I'll talk about in a second. And then you pair that with I didn't enjoy the combat, it just made like the areas not that enjoyable. Now, the thing that I think was the absolute worst thing about this game, it wasn't the reason I quit, because you could technically avoid them if you wanted to and just like fight monsters to level up, but like the side quests were like weird in this game. Every single thing was a fetch quest that was like the lowest possible effort. No real story behind it for the most part. And it was like you would run around the town that you were in or like the colony or whatever, and you would just talk to the townspeople. It would be like pretty basic for the most part. And I think there was like some world building, but not very much. And it was just like, oh, can you go kill this guy? Oh, can you go kill these three guys? Oh, can you kill these three guys? And it's like you just got 4 quests from the same person, and he's like in the military or whatever. And he's like, can you go kill these guys for me? And it's like, what? Like, this is the side quests in the game. Like, are you serious? Like, these are like the most unrewarding side quests ever. Like, why would I ever want to do these? There was one section that did seem optional that seemed cool. But it was like the second colony you went to. Spoilers, I guess, very mild spoilers. You like rebuild one of like the settlements in the area based off of quests. That seemed kind of interesting. I just never got to it, so I don't know if I want to reserve any judgment for that. I'd have to imagine the side quests were probably pretty similar. That spot did seem kind of interesting. So now, for the sake of not being negative about the game fully, I did actually like the story a lot. It was kind of the main reason I kept playing the game for the 25 or so hours that I did play. I found like the overarching story to be pretty interesting. It was a very unique story, not what you would necessarily expect out of the game. A lot of the characters were pretty well done. I thought, like, for example, the main character Shulk, like, wow, I thought his story was, it was nowhere near what I expected it was going to be. And I would say overall, he had a pretty good character arc. I did, even though I didn't finish the game, I did watch all of the cutscenes on YouTube, which, wow. I think that I didn't realize there was like 10 hours worth of cutscenes in that game. I was probably through like 5 hours of the like 10 hours of cutscenes. So that was actually part of the reason why I decided to stop, because I was like, wow, like I'm going to be playing this game forever and I don't even really enjoy it that much. But I found the story of Shulk to be interesting, and I found the story of Fiora to be pretty interesting. Dunban was also a great character. Some of the other characters were okay. Ryan was all right. I found him to be a bit of a one-trick pony, if you will. It was kind of always the same joke. He was the butt of the joke a lot of times, and the joke was not all that creative or funny. Charlotte was okay. She seemed to have like one thing that in the story that it was leading up to was like not that interesting. I don't know. But overall, the story was pretty cool. And to me, like going into the game, I didn't know if the full story was going to get wrapped up in one game or if it was going to go into Xenoblade 2. And like they covered a lot of ground in that story. The ending was for sure not at all what I had expected. And I'm not sure if I totally loved it or not. I didn't hate it. So I guess that's a good sign. Like I was saying, I watched all the cutscenes just in case I did want to go through and play Xenoblade 2 or Xenoblade Chronicles X if that ever gets like remastered and released for the Switch. But yeah, I just wanted to make this video because I found the game to be fairly interesting, and while I didn't totally enjoy it, I would consider playing Xenoblade 2 just because I know the combat system is different. This wasn't really a review. I'm not going to give a score or anything. If you don't mind the combat in Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, you'd probably love the game. It just never really clicked with me, and that to go with like the poor, it's like poor graphics because of the scope of the game, really. The poor graphics and poor resolution, it just kind of weighed down the experience for me a little bit, and I just didn't totally love it. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Peace out.